A young nun is sent to Rome where she discovers dark secrets involving creepy kids, naughty habits, and demonic bestiality. It's fun for the whole family. The Thorn family, that is. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, as this prequel shows us the origins of an adopted demonic child in the first Omen. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. That's right, the first Omen, directed by Akasha Stevenson. Known for directing some short films, some TV episodes, and this being feature film debut. We meet young nun Margaret, who is sent to Rome before taking her vows. This sounds familiar. She is sent to an orphanage in Rome to look after young girls who are being raised by the Catholic Church. We also discover that young Margaret was an orphan herself, being raised by nuns, and figuring, if you can't beat 'em, be 'em. She gets to know all the young girls and all the nuns at this orphanage in Rome, and even roommating with a rebellious young nun who looks like a young version of Sophia Loren. This young nun walks the tightrope between nun-to-be and disco bunny. This sounds familiar. She also befriends a young weirdo girl who has violent outbursts, constantly getting put into the bad room, and sketches the creepiest drawings that ever horror movie cliched. And on the subject of cliches, she seems to be the key to all of this. It's not long before an Irish priest pops up with all kinds of conspiracy theories, stating that the Catholic Church, this orphanage so to speak, is trying to birth Satan's son, and figuring it's going to be one of these young ladies at the orphanage. Who could it be? His theory is that the Catholic Church wants to bring the faith back to the public, because God and Jesus ain't all that hip in the 1970s apparently. The Catholic Church figures if they birth the son of Satan to reign terror, but also rein him in and them being in control of him, they can bring the masses back to church.
Not a great plan.
However, this is all just a theory from him. But all the evidence he's got to go on is a withered old photo of a female child who's now all grown up and of age, so the church can make her Satan's baby mama. Along with all this religious fuckery, Margaret begins to get really morbid and unsettling visions of her own. However, Irish priest Father Guinness McClover says the only way they can get proof of this theory is for Margaret to sneak into the orphanage, obtain all these files of these young girls, and try and figure out which one they plan on being the mother of Satan's child. Fair to say that things go from creepy to OMFG, what the hell is that? The film has some really unsettling and horrific images, and it gave me that feel of this delicious, morbid 70s horror. This sounds familiar. The film really uses its quiet time very well here, driving home the creepy and unsettling. Most of the creepy scenes having no sound effects or no music or score playing underneath it. And my God, was it effective. Every actor in this film too had a very interesting face to look at, and it made the film all that more engaging. Another reason why it had this creepy, unsettling 70s horror feel to it, besides it being based in 1971. The film really used this time period quite well to its advantage. And it didn't mess with no cheap jump scares that flood the horror market. The lead actress here, Nell Tiger-Free, who played the role of Margaret, did a really good job. I'm surprised with a name like that she's not one of those Hollywood nepotism babies. I don't think I've ever seen her work before, or her in anything previously to this, but I really liked it. She did a really good job with balancing manic, crazy fear and retribution. There is also a twisty twist in the film that you will see coming a quarter mile away. It's glaringly obvious that we had two religious horror films dropping at the same time. And the similarities are less than subtle. We have a young nun thrust into a dark, secretive world of the clergy that questions her faith. A rebellious friend who's close by witnessing all of this. Secret birthing experiments, one trying to bring back the Son of God, the other the Son of Satan. And all wrapped up in a generally intriguing slow-burn 70s horror aesthetic. But this is nothing new for Hollywood. There's been many two like-minded films dropping at the same time. We had Volcano and Dante's Peak, Deep Impact and Armageddon, A Bug's Life and Ants, Red Planet and Mission to Mars, The Prestige and The Illusionist, and the list goes on. However, I will say that I preferred the first Omen, this film, over Immaculate. The aesthetic and feel of this film was much more pleasing to me in my horror brain than the other movie. It was much more creepy and had way more horror that was gobsmacking. Apart from Immaculate's ending, of course. And I loved how this film tied into the original Omen. it was quite satisfying and subtle. However, like most prequels, you kinda know where everything's gonna end up. But the film was intriguing and engaging enough with a few little surprises of its own that kept me engaged. It answers the question of where exactly did Damien come from? What remake? Anyway guys, that's my cheeky little review of the first Omen. I really enjoyed it, and yes, I do recommend it. But anyway, write down below if you've seen it, what are your thoughts on this film, but more importantly, what is your favourite installment of the Omen franchise? And of course, if you made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon because I give it an episode weekly. And I'll see you back here next week for the next review, and until then, stay spooky, kids.